I'll hold myself down for a bit. Start from the beginning. Okay, so hi. I'm really curious. It's like if we were gonna start anywhere, we can start just like the start of like your competitive career, the genesis of like what you played first, if it wasn't Siege, and how that began, if it was Siege.
Right. You want me to start now?
Yeah, go for it, sir.
Okay, I'm sorry. All right. So before Siege, I actually used to play Xbox. Um, so I didn't even have a PC, and I'd probably say from like the age of 12 to my later teen years, uh, basically played a game called Call of Duty, which I'm sure everyone heard.
Damn.
So I played Call of Duty and Halo, and those are the games that I actually tried to go pro in. Um, Growing up, I used to watch a lot of Halo tournaments on TV. I don't know if anyone remembers those, but yeah, I always thought esports was cool, and then obviously competing. As I played sports, I was always like a competitor growing up. So yeah, obviously, I don't think I put as much work into those games as I probably do now. Didn't understand what it takes to be a pro at this level, but yeah, didn't make it in any of those games, and also tried Gears of War as well. Um, so that was like mostly where I was competing. I gave up trying to be a pro gamer, to be honest. Around like 4 years ago, I'd say, and I was like, all right, I'm just gonna play games for fun with my friends. Nothing wrong with that. Um, and then my brother actually told me about a game called Siege coming out for the PC. So I was already getting a PC to play H1Z1 because that was like the big game back then. And we ended up playing Rainbow, which I never even knew what it was. And I got it for free because I was buying a graphics card for my computer at the same time. Ended up just playing the game with my brother. Started liking it. He made a team. We actually entered in like the very first tournament. Don't even know what it was at the time. I honestly can't remember. All I do remember is that we played Empire Gaming, our very first game. Billboard was actually on that team, as well as I think Talon and a few others, and we got 6-0'd on house. And yeah, that was the very first game I've ever played. After that, everyone on that team pretty much quit, pretty much slapped everybody off the game except myself, who decided, this game's actually fun. I feel like I'm good at it, even though I just got slapped 6-0. I'm going to build my own team. And then that's pretty much where it all started from. Then I built my own team, which was Headhunters, and then turned into Nemesis and all that.
And then at some point, Flipside.
Right. At some point, we got picked up into T3 and then turned into Flipside.
How's the Flipside team? Like, what was the lineup? The first lineup?
A Flipside roster or
Yeah.
before that?
Well, the Flipside roster.
The Flipside roster, the very first lineup was me, Exclusive TV. Who else was on that team? Oh, Easy Peasy Lemon Squeezy, of course.
The Magnum God.
The Magnum God himself, King George, and Pojo Man. Very first game was Mr. Popo, which was from VWS. But then after that game, Pojo played, and that was the first roster. But yeah, me and Pojo go back obviously way before that. With Hot and Cold was on like the very first team that we ever formed.
That's actually super interesting because I was looking at a lot of VODs from back then, and it's like you and Pojo and Hot and Cold, like you guys have been playing for a long time, so you guys definitely have like a foundation of like friendship going on. Do you think that's important when making a team?
Uh, I actually think it is. I think that level of trust that you get with a friendship honestly goes a long way into like competing, like asking somebody to do something. You know, you have like 100% certainty that like Pojo is kind of like that type of player that literally I can tell him to do anything. Like he plays the worst roles in Pro League, and he's always has because he just doesn't complain. He doesn't care. Like he'll do whatever it takes, whatever we ask him, and we're winning games. So I feel like having someone that's your friend as a roster, and then obviously like Biggity Boop Bop, and then turned into Continuum. They were all friends, made a roster. I feel like it's kind of turned into, I don't know, the way to make a team almost is get along out of game. You'll get along way better in game.
Yeah, for sure. So, like about Flipside, tell me about like the failures and um I know there's a story about you guys getting relegated at some point and the struggles with that. Like, were there any internal issues at that point? Or even the high points of Flipside, making it to LAN, even if like NA got first round at that point, but like, how
Right,
was
right.
it?
All right. Well, definitely the high point was our very first season of Flipside. We were T3, uh, Trinity Esports. We like to call it tied Esports because we literally tied every game except I think like the last game where we beat Orbit, which was definitely the high point. Beating Orbit, who were undefeated at the time, haven't even lost a map. We took them to Clubhouse, a map that they weren't comfortable on, and we got extremely comfortable on, and ended up beating them, even though that was a controversial fuse charge and things that we can get into. But anyway, so we had to go on to beating them, make it to LAN. We play Youngtis. I feel like that was one of the strongest LAN teams I've been on. Like, we were feeling really good. We were beating Orbit consistently at Scrims. They had their own problems. They knew Young and Canadian were going to leave. They weren't practicing very well at the time. So we were ahead of them in our eyes. Then we play Youngtis, obviously go on to losing Clubhouse, which 100% should have been ours. Then we won the second map on Chalet, which we didn't think we would even win. We practiced it for like a week. So that was the high point, even though we ended up losing. We feel like we could have won that LAN.
Oh, you guys actually thought you guys could have won it like 100%.
Oh yeah, we in our eyes, we were hoping that Orbit won, which they did, and then we were hoping we'd be Youngtis because we, in our eyes, we were better than Orbit that season. We could have took the title. So, and then after that was a rough season, I believe. We ended up replacing, I think that was the season. Yeah, we replaced Exclusive, Hot and Cold. Okay, so Connections came back in. We got Hot back. We felt like he added more fragging power than Joey did at the time. And in that season, we ended up almost making LAN. I think we needed to take a map. And we needed to win against Orbit the very last week. We ended up obviously tying them. We took one map, they took the other map, and that sent B3, Biggity Boop Up, to LAN. And I always like to think about that moment. If we would have made LAN, I feel like Continuum would have never happened because they would have never won that season. And then who knows? They might have broken up and they may have never won Invitational. So it's pretty crazy how all that kind of happened. As far as us, the controversy, I think that was before Flipside. I think you're talking about when we technically formed a Gotham Gaming Nemesis mix.
Oh, yeah.
And we were going to qualify for Pro League, and we played a team that we still believe, I'm not going to bring up their name, but controversy regarding them about cheating and their Moss files. And yeah, they knocked us out. And that's how we ended up forming Trinity after it. King George and Joey picked up most of us from that roster. And then, I mean, it all worked out in the end. We ended up making LAN, so.
Yeah, for sure. So how was like the relegations? You getting relegated out of Pro League at some point? I'm pretty. Was there how were the challenges in it like internally? Did you guys? How did it feel? Because it's Pro League, right? And then you have to play like a relegation match to get back into it. Get back in the Pro League.
So are we talking about the season we finished 7th?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Woo, try to erase that out of my memory, but yeah. So leading to that season, I never finished out of 3rd place. So obviously finished 7th. It was crazy. We ended up dropping Chala that season. We got Chapstick. Things didn't work out. Probably one of the biggest regrets of my career, just dropping Chala that season. But that's another story. We go to relegations. Obviously, our confidence is completely gone. We go from being one of a Titan in NA to we're now fighting for our spot in Pro League. I feel like it was a little unfair. We played like the 2 best teams during the bracket, during that old format that we had to play, that to knock us into there. But regardless, being in there really shook our confidence. Like I said, I think we went up against Reckless.
Yeah.
I mean, now like we have to play a Challenger League team. Like I'm super confident right now. We're playing one of the best. We're playing really good right now.
Yeah.
But back then we couldn't even win scrims. Like we couldn't win any game. It was terrible. Yeah, obviously winning the first map against Reckless got all our confidence back, and then pretty much got the consulate, beat them on that map, and right after, we honestly like screamed like we just made a LAN, even though we just made it back into Pro League, which is like, yeah, whatever, but it's like such a weight was lifted off our shoulders. We pretty much vowed ever since then like that would never happen again. We're gonna do whatever it takes. Like if I have to work even harder than I already do, like I'm gonna do whatever. Like maybe there was a little slacking involved, like maybe some cockiness because we were riding off some good seasons, but it's definitely a motivating factor into where we are today to like never let that happen again.
So like talking about you working hard, because I know you're the IGL for the team. I don't know if you can go deep into that. What does that mean, being an IGL, like the role? How you define it, and can you give like an example of like the amount of effort that's put in? Because it's an undervalued role, right? People see a couple of frags and like, he got a 3K, he's insane, like, and stuff like that. But like, what kind of work do you put in the background to ensure your team gets these like amazing successes?
All right, so start like at IGL. Pretty much you're calling the strategies, right? Like in the beginning of a round, I'll just take our last game for example. Hopefully no spoilers, but take our last game for example. We know they're going lobby. I'm going to call a lobby strat. These strats are usually predetermined or like preset. Obviously we practice these in dry runs, so that goes into it too. Like I lead the dry runs, everything. We go over strategies. So that way during game day, like I'm able to call these strategies. Also as an IGL, basically like if there's a problem during the round, for some reason we can't do this strategy. Maybe there's a mirror window facing our direction. Maybe we got a couple players spawn peaked and we're dead. At that point, pretty much the team looks to you to solve the problem. So then you have to make mid-round adaptions and things like that, how we can win the round. I think the most undervalued part of being an IGL and something I've been working on and struggle with is also keeping your players' emotions in check. You might be getting 3-0'd, and again, your team looks to you to have no emotion and just try to, pump them up, will them through the rounds. Like you can't be the guy that's like, we're down 3-0 and you're complaining and being really tilted. Like,
muting your mic in Discord.
Exactly, or else your team's going to be like that. And I'm in the past, and probably even still, like that match versus Obey, we got 6-0'd on Coastline. After we were down 2-3-0, I probably could have done a way better job of getting us to reset. And I think momentum was a big thing and just kept taking us for rounds. So like that's on me. But yeah, I think that's a very undervalued part of IGLing. But behind the scene work, I wouldn't really say it's necessarily the IGL's job, but it's just something that I do. Is like during my day, I put in numerous hours watching all these Pro League games, which is really good now that they're best of ones because it's pretty easy to watch. I can just find a map that I need to watch. But yeah, watching all the games, maybe I see a strategy I like that we can implement. Maybe I'm watching a team that we're going to be playing very soon, and I need to pick apart like SSG, like their consulate, for example, pick apart and see like where we could exploit weaknesses. Yeah, everything like that.
So the SSG game, okay? And I'm sorry if anyone's watching this and there's spoilers, it's too late, okay? If you're watching right now, chill for a second, go back, watch the first and the second attack. Get your mind blown, come back, reset, and watch this. I'm watching the second attack, their console office, and it feels to me like I'm watching CSGO Pro League executes. So yeah. Thermite's repelling on the window, Capital's also repelling. I think Nyx is around yellow stairs because Shuttle's playing there. And I see you inching away towards the connector window below it. I'm like, what's going on? They're like sort of separated across the map. And then the execute happens. It's like one of those like times in those Disney movies when things go slow motion. and think it's just so beautiful. Like I was watching with my teammates last night. I'm just like, you guys seen this? It's an execute. It's an actual execute. There's smokes and everything, and then you're using your Zofia charges. How do you practice that exactly in dry runs? How do you sync that? And another question for that is, what if you died in that? How do you disable the guy connector and plant console at that point?
Right. So how do we practice that? Well, I feel like we have one of the best comms in the game. Ever since we added Jarvis way back, like our comms have been something else. That I think definitely small things like that helped us as a team. But I don't know. We actually do go into a map of custom like on consulate and literally get into positions and work on timing. Like we make sure Nix has piano control. We make sure I'm outside connector window. We make sure that no one's actually in the CEO room, or else we'll clear them first, making sure we get evil eyes, things like that I can see in smoke. And then Jarvis usually does a little countdown and goes like, all right, I'm going to smoke 3, 2, and then, shoots Capitao arrow at the same time, hot swinging in. So things like that actually are practice, like timing. Because little timing, if I'm not ready to, like you said, Zofia charge, connector window, connectors just go into smoke or C4 them. So little things like that definitely, like for timing wise, could throw the whole strat off. So that's like super important. If I was to get picked off, I don't think I actually have. And keep in mind, we've only made that strategy like 2 days ago and practiced it, and I haven't died in like 2 days, so it's been pretty good. But
Nice.
If I were to die, pretty sure Pojo is usually the flex guy watching runouts. He would just repel probably onto connector, flash, and use flash banks and lion charge, which would probably do the same job as me. But yeah, he wouldn't be able to watch the Pengu run out. Could get a little messy. So
Yeah.
usually I just have to stay alive.
Yeah, for sure. There's a lot of talk about, and I'm still gonna drill on this IGL thing a bit. There's a lot of talk about IGLs and like their frag potential being low. How do you like agree with that? Do you see that as a challenge sometimes as an IGL? I mean, your frags, they don't matter, but and I'm also asking this as a fellow IGL, and how do you keep your skills sharp individually as an IGL? Like, when you're not like always like the Ash or whatever, when you have to make calls mid round, do you ever find that challenging sometimes?
Okay, yeah. When I was the IGL and I was like the strict, I'd say now we have 2 shot callers, so I'll get into that in a second. When I was the strict IGL, I definitely found it hard sometimes to get fragged because I always feel like, and I put this as nice as possible, but I always feel like I'm holding somebody's hand through the game. Like I'm literally have to tell someone where to go at all times. And that was a different style we were playing back then, which was like a super adapt penta style where like we didn't really have a strat on offense. We had a theory or an idea what we wanted to accomplish, but we never really it wasn't really practiced. So what we kind of grew into in our old style, when we were good, we went back to it, is basically like very practiced strategies to the point where I basically don't have to do anything. I can just obviously they know exactly where to go during the strategy, so I can just think about my part and worry about my frags and what I need to do. And then I'm here, like I'm still listening to all the comms, and if I need to make any adaptions or anything mid-round, or anyone like runs into any problems, like I'll problem solve as well as doing my job, which I feel like I got better at, and doesn't really take too much of my fragging potential away. But yeah, most of it is, like I said, pre-practiced. No one seems to have like any issues during the round. Then I'm free to basically run around and do what I need to do and don't have to really think for anybody else. As far as the 2-shot caller thing, why I got it even easier is I think Hot and Cold really stepped up lately, and he's been like the 2nd shot caller.
Has he? That's amazing. Huh.
Yeah. So what this basically allows us to do is, like, I'm going to reference the consulate game again. During lobby, and it really depends on the map and the strategy, but like a lot of positions I'm playing now, since I'm Zofia, I'm playing like, if you look at CSGO, it's like an offensive lurker.
Yeah.
So I play that position on a lot of strategies. So as we're doing our lobby take for the 3rd time, it kind of stalls out. and we're like, all right, we're not going to be able to do this. There's a minute left. So I'm away from everybody. Like, I have no idea why we can't do this. Hot's obviously playing Habana on this map, and he's right there with the strategy. Like, he knows exactly why it's not working. There was mute charges on the wall. I went to go blow them off. Now it's taking too long. So he problem solves for us in that case, and he says, let's just go do our rush plant that we did the first one, smoke that door, I'll go plant. And so I run over, I listen to the call, I'm like, cool, there's an evil eye in console office, I waste ADS, kill the evil eye, and then I know I'm back in my offensive lurker role, and I went Visa and made a couple plays and was able to get top control for us. And yeah, so having a second shot caller definitely helps. I'm able to literally just become a fragger at that point, and someone else can figure out the problem for me.
Yeah, it definitely sounds like it helps. I had this issue, and I feel like I still have this issue, and I think you might be able to relate to it from when you were a main caller. You make a call as an IGL, and for some reason it doesn't work. A couple people lose a couple gunfights, and your team questions it at the end of the round. Like, was that really the right call? Couldn't we just go this? But because, like, I feel like I'm the IGL making the calls, I have an emotional connection to the call, and I don't want to revert it. For example, if it's consulate, my mindset has always been, and I just play amateur level comp, so it's like, hey, let's take admin, we'll clear from there. Like, it's that easy, guys. And if there's a visual on admin, or drone game becomes weak, and all of a sudden we are freaking out, a minute got on the clock, and they were like, oh, why don't we just take something? Why don't we just take piano and watch the flank? And I just get a little bit strong-headed. I'm like, I don't know, guys. It was on you. Do you ever feel like you can relate to that, where you get an emotional connection to a call, and it might be the wrong one at the time?
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, like I said, emotion's not sometimes the best strong suit for me as an IGL, something I'm working on that I think is huge, but I definitely have in the past, and maybe even recently, there's been times where I think I made the right call, and then maybe after we'll talk about it, and, you know, they'll come at me with, why didn't we go here? Why didn't we go there? And in my head, you know, I might think, like, I'm the IGL. It's on me if we lose the rounds. Like, I'll take 100% of the blame, but, like, as long as they're listening to me in the game, that's fine. Afterwards is the time I learned to, like, you have to be able to talk about it. Like, if they ignored you in the game as an IGL and just went piano on their own and did exactly what, you know, you're talking about during that strat, and they didn't listen to you, and you're, like, sitting at my windows like, where's my team at? Then I'd be pretty furious. But, like, afterwards, I learned that, I don't know, watching VODs and everything, I take my team's opinions, you know, very seriously. And if they bring up, like, maybe we should have done this, I'll look at the VOD and try to get my head out of it and be like, okay, yeah, you're right, there was an opening here. And then just kind of, like, try to, I don't know, get myself better as an IGL and, like, see openings like that. Because everyone on the team, I mean, I know you guys are in Amber League, but everyone on the team is a pro player. Everyone's, you know, good at the game, so you got to be able to take everyone's, like, advice like that. And I would feel like even at a low level, as long as I said in the game, they're listening to you. Out of the game, if another idea comes up, I feel like you just got to listen to it and get better.
Yeah, for sure. Let's talk about a bit of Nyx and the evil Waffle mix up, and, like, how that,
Okay.
yeah, what that means. I mean, Nyx is great. Nyx has been great. Like,
Right.
glad to know it's working out, but I know your statement on, like, Reddit was Evil Waffle was a really passive player for the role. That wasn't what you were looking for. You were looking for someone to replace, like, the Adam role, which can be aggressive if needed, I'm guessing.
Right.
How'd you guys figure that out in time, and why did it come so late?
All right, so to clear that whole thing up again, Adam left. He let me know he was leaving to obey. We kind of felt it coming. I had a vacation already planned with family, so we were going to do tryouts that week, but I had vacation. So we got a list of players. I don't want to name all of them, but there was a lot of good free agents this last season that obviously went to really good teams. So we had a list, and the whole plan was, right when I get back, we were going to do tryouts just to figure out which player was, you know, best fit for us. Waffle was on the list, and he was obviously close to Jarvis and Pojo. But he didn't want to join us at first. he said he wants to stick it out with this team. So we're like, all right, that's cool. You know, we have other players that we're looking at as well. It's fine. Then he came to us and said he really wants to join us and that his team already kind of has an idea and they're like telling him, you know, obviously if a team's figuring out that you're trying to leave them, like I would be in the same situation. Like if Adam was talking behind the backs or whatever and going to leave us, we'd be upset. Obviously he didn't talk behind our backs. He was very good about it. But so I understand where that team was coming from as well. But anyway, so we had to act fast with Waffle if we decided to go with him. And we took a vote in team and it ended up going to, we have to take him fast. We can't do tryouts. Okay. So we took him. Things were going pretty well for the first little bit of time, like first week or two. And we had him on the role that we needed, which was Habana and like Echo mirror role, which he was comfortable on the mirror role. Habana and Echo was new to him. So we gave him some time to get better. We obviously gave him tips, everything like that. But then his frag potential just wasn't what we needed. So I don't know. We try to be as nice as possible about it, but we said, you know what? Let's just get you on roles you're comfortable with. Put you on Thatcher. We'll give you an L85 because he was really good on Thatcher for Cloud9. So we're like, you know what? Thatcher Mira. Just do your role. Just frag out. And that went well for a little bit. And then we started being like, well, we really don't need a Thatcher here. It's kind of hindering us. Can you play IQ? Because IQ is like huge in this meta. He's like, all right, he's pretty good with IQ. But the Echo was like a struggle. Yeah, I don't want to go too much into ripping him too much, but he's a really good player.
Yeah, for sure.
I think on his roles, like I said, Thatcher, Mira, those kind of things, like on his roles, really good player. But overall, one thing you can't teach and something we didn't think about was he is a passive player. Adam was like one of the most aggressive players there is.
He peaks everything.
He peaks everything, which is why we love him. But anyway, yeah, so Waffle had a problem with, like, if during the road game we were supposed to be pushing in the box take and he was very passive looking angles and, like, we need to just go in that situation. And a passive player next to Pojo, who's also a passive player, gets nothing done. They're both holding angles, both being mailboxes. Whereas you put Adam next to Pojo, Adam's running in, Pojo's like, okay, I'm going to run in. So, yeah, we decided we had to make a change. You got to look at it from a business point. We could have stuck it out, but who knows what would happen. We could be at the complete bottom of the bracket in 3 months. And, I mean, that's not looking good for any of us. So why wait to make a change? We ended up going with Nyx because really our only options were very limited because we're only allowed to pick up a player not in Pro League or Challenger League team after the deadline, which we were way after it because it was the first game. So we ended up going with Nyx, who was obviously on the beginning of the list. He fit pretty much all the boxes with aggressive player, really good fragger, and he was actually playing the same roles on his old team, Nomads. He was playing Mira, Echo, and he was playing Thermite. So literally the same roles. So we're like, all right, bring him in. He's Hot and Cold's cousin, which he's been looking up to us for a really long time anyways. So he listens to all of us. He obviously has like prior IGL experience and he was like the leader on every team he was on kind of thing. And he always fragged out. So we ended up putting him on the roles that we needed him on. And once he gets comfortable or he got comfortable with us, we've been playing pretty much exactly the same, if not better than back when we had Adam on the support roles. And yeah, everything's been looking really good.
That's amazing. Do you think the leagues like CCS are doing a great job, Ben? Like, since he played there for like a while on Hydra and Nomads, do you think that set up a great foundation for Nyx to be able to play on a competitive level professionally?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Nyx would have been on it. Like he played CCS and he played Pro League. That's what people know him as. But I mean, he was under 18, so CCS was the only thing he could play in. But
True.
I do think CCS is a great run league, great foundation over there. Like I love those guys. We obviously played there and you know took the championship first round over there, but or second season over there, yeah. But yeah, I mean, there's some really good teams in there that they get to play against. They let like pro teams play in there. So again, these young up and coming players get a lot to play against. The underage team, I believe DG, right?
Yeah.
That's a super really good team. Like, you beat them, that's really good experience for a young team like that. So
yeah,
I mean, definitely some good players. Great league because it's run just like pro league. So
let's talk about bakery on cafe.
I'm out of here.
Because how can I have an actual like podcast with you without asking about that, especially as an IGL at that point? I'm guessing that was you being the core IGL, not with Hoden being.
Yeah, I feel like he just stepped up this season, so everything prior, yeah.
Canadian tweeted back then saying that was a wrong move 100%. Your reply to that, and I remember that because I saw it worked well in scrims. So this is a two-sided question. Bakery and cafe, why? And if your answer is the same, you can maybe expatiate on that. And then, what is your definition? I mean, if you see success and stuff in scrims, does that qualify 100% for it to work in game? For example, what if you're losing a map a lot in scrims or a site? Does that make it? How do you know if it's like a viable practice? And also, we have a question similar to this in the fan asked, by the way, that I'll be posing after this. But bakery and cafe, let's go.
All right, so bakery and cafe, why? I feel like I still have a little part of me that believes this as an IGL, but my thinking back then was, okay, so you play cafe and you're a professional team. You practice hours and hours a day attacking top floor and attacking middle floor in cafe. The only time you ever attack bakery is if you're playing ranked. And what happens in ranked, everyone just like usually goes to the front door, and usually you smoke and then you plant. So my thinking back then, and why we have CEO as a that same season, we got CEO for bank, and now CEO bank is meta. So I'm just saying I'm 50-50 over here. Okay, I'm one for two.
Yeah.
But yeah, my thinking back then, like I said, if they're not very practiced at attacking the site and we're very practiced at defending the site, then bakery becomes viable. So we set up our defense exactly how you would attack it in ranked. You would come in from the front windows. Really wouldn't have any pressure in the back. If you tried to go to our south window, which is the big window in bakery, and get our Mira, we had 3 Valkyrie cams outside, and we were ready to jump on you. So things you wouldn't expect. This is things you can't practice against. You have no idea what we're going to do. Some issues, we literally were up we got 2 kills, jumps back outside for some reason, dies. Then we're up 4-3. Then they jump in after smoking and plant in the corner. We knew they were going to plant in that corner. We literally had 3 outs. We had Pojo, could C4 the corner. We had a hole in kitchen that was literally designed for a C4 toss into that corner. He went the wrong rotate and died to a guy in the window. So that's strike number 1. Then we had Chapstick. Same hole that Pojo can C4, he can smoke that corner. He didn't smoke the corner. And then Adam was playing bottom red stairs with Ella, who, if you throw Ella charges close enough to the planter, it'll, stop the planter. So that was his job. Also, he's a 3-speed. He can just run through a smoke and kill the guy in the corner. But someone made a wrong call, and for some reason he thought they were planting in the other corner, so he runs into the room looking the wrong way and dies. And then I jump out the window and try to get back in, and he's done planning, and I die. So we could have won that round. And we'd be talking about me being a genius.
And bakery becoming
the meta. We should have 100% won that round. But we, as we like to throw. And that's why people love us. And then what was the other question? I'm sorry?
Scrim. So, effective practice in scrims, and how do you know as an IGL, and that you're a pro team, so you've been scrimming a lot of maps for a while, but let's talk about when, I don't want to talk about Villa because it's still like in the unknown. Let's talk about when Coastline came out. How would you know you were ready for a Coastline game and you would not be banning it anymore when it comes to pro games?
Okay, so real quick about the cafe. The reason we thought we were good with it, we practice against their team Liquid now. Yeah, they're really good scrim partners of us. and one of the best teams in the world. And we also scrimmed it against, I believe we scrimmed it against Canadian's team. Could be wrong. But it's somebody in NA. 2 top teams in our eyes. Whoever we scrimmed, I forget who it was. And we ran it against them. We actually ran against Liquid twice in the same map. They literally knew we were going there, and we still won on it. And we were like 4-0, 5-0 on the site. So at that point, we keep all stats of like our site percentage and things like that. That way, like if your site percentage is like down, obviously then that's something you need to work on, right? Like we're not very good at defending train. Okay, it's time to come up with a new train strat because this isn't working. So things like that we'll look at. But as far as like Coastline, again, Liquid, our partners, decided, hey, no one plays Coastline in either of our regions. We should scrim it against each other, get really, really good, figure out the meta against each other, and then we could pull it out in very important matches. And that's pretty much what happened. We scrimmed it against each other for like a week or 2. They came up with some crazy things. I'm not even gonna lie. The Coastline that you guys saw us play versus Continuum, where we beat them, was basically Liquid's. Like they came up with like mostly everything. Like Kitchen was their idea. Like we had no idea Kitchen was even good on Coastline. They're playing Kitchen. I'm like, wow, this site's nuts. So yeah, pretty much just playing. Like same would be with Villa. We'll play it against a certain team or a couple teams. We'll figure out a meta. Once we're comfortable with a meta and like what to do on the map in certain situations, then it'll start being unbanned and obviously played. Like right now, there's been Villa being played, but I feel like those teams have strats on it and never scrimmed it because it seems kind of random right now almost. And just a frag fest. But usually we're not comfortable until we really practice a certain map and get good at different sites and figure out exactly what needs to be done.
So I've got a question from X from ICS. He says, your scrim pool is pretty small for you guys, and you guys always have spicy strats. How do you practice spice but not give anything away? Do you plan ahead with strats to practice against which teams so they can't use those strats later in matches against other teams? Something he's been really curious about is how you keep your strats secret, yet also get very good practice with them. Generally about the spice, which we know Flipside / SK for.
Yeah, we got the spice for sure. So, man, this sounds bad to say now. Hopefully, not too many people will see this, but no. We practice when we practice against like NA. We run defaults mostly, and that's just to get good at our defaults. When we scrim against APAC, when we scrim against Latin America, when we scrim against EU, that's when we really practice out all of our like gadget plays, spice plays, whatever you want to call them. That's when we throw everything at them and see if it works. I feel like a lot of people don't or underestimate like scrimming other regions because ping is an issue, but like you can't think of, oh, the strat didn't work because I couldn't kill that guy because he came around the corner with like 160 ping. Like that doesn't matter. What really matters is the execute, obviously. Like if we're practicing like constantly where we just smoke up and go plant, like ping has nothing to do with it.
100%.
Were they able to see us in the smoke? Do they have any gadgets in there that can stop it? Like what can they do to stop it? So yeah, basically we hide all our things by practicing against other regions that no one will see against unless if we see them at a LAN. But I mean, knock on us, we haven't been on a LAN in a year, so
hopefully this season.
Hopefully this season, yeah. But yeah.
Yeah, I think there's been amazing growth watching you guys, just like last season SK, which was still a pretty strong SK in my eyes. Like that was still like really solid. It wasn't like you guys didn't get to go to LAN, but I still thought, hell yeah, you guys put up a hell of a fight. A lot of spicy strats on border. I remember the Dokubi, and you guys just I don't understand it. I feel like when other teams should play against you, they should expect these fast executes, but maybe they don't, or they just can't do anything at the time. For example, the lobby pun on Consulate and SSG, like I can't like it's. I've thought about it before. I'm like, why don't people just smoke and plant behind? But it seems like a ridiculous idea, and then it just I don't know.
For most people, that stuff is ridiculous ideas, and like the border thing with all the smoke, that's stuff no one's really seen before, and especially from us. So they look at our border bots, we've never done it, so they have no reason to expect it. And then Consulate SSG had no, like, we didn't even bring Capital before, so they had no clue. So it's really just changing things up and adapting. And I mean, people should know we love strats that we don't have to take any map control. If we're able to literally just smoke up a site and abuse the meta and get a bomb plant down and a freebie, as Easily would say, I mean, we're going to do it like 100% of the time if it works like that.
I was actually curious about that also. On stream once you said, like, compared to other teams, your team doesn't have like the most, like the fraggers completely. How do you place your teammates in like positions to get these freebies and quote? How exactly? Because SK is definitely a different team from other teams. You guys stand out when it comes to the strats. Do you think has it been challenging, trying to like not take these one-on-one fights? Well, I'm not. You don't ignore the fights. Obviously, if you have to take him, you have to take him. But that's obviously a strong point for you guys in general, like trying to get those plants like that. How do you guys do that exactly?
I don't know. I think we're honestly just a well-disciplined team, and we have been since the beginning. We got off track a little bit sometimes, frag chasing, but in general, we really stress not taking a fight if you really don't need to. Like, if the strat calls and we need map control, okay, obviously the entry fraggers have to go in and get the map control. But besides that, we shouldn't be overextending. We stress, like, not over-peaking things. I'll give another example again, like Consulate. The job is to get yellow stairs. That doesn't mean get to the top of yellow stairs and peak connector or peak long haul. Like, that you just got all that map control for absolutely nothing. So we try to just be real disciplined. And then, again, things that we're not good at sometimes, taking map control. Like Consulate, again, maybe we're not good at taking admin like everyone else does, right? Admin control small, then you got to take projector, you got to have Pengu, you got to have underneath Visa control. That's a lot of control. So on maps and sites that we're not good at, we just think of like, well, how can we do this without taking any map control or the least amount of map control possible to minimize mistakes?
Yeah. There were rumors back during the relegations that if you guys were to lose that relegation, you would have quit playing professionally. How's it been? Has it been really challenging balancing IRL life with playing professionally? And even before organizations like SK, like, how have you had to get like full-time jobs or quit full-time jobs to dedicate so much time to this? How's that been?
Yeah, so me and Pojo, I worked as a loss prevention manager, which is like security. I'm sure there's a picture floating around somewhere of me in a cop uniform.
Oh, that's actually you?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought it was a meme.
It is a meme in general, but and Pojo used to work at a tennis club, which his girlfriend still does, I believe. So yeah, I used to work 50 hours a week, and it was really hard dedicating the time. But when we got to the point where we saw these big orgs coming in, me and Poach took a chance. We quit our jobs, and pretty much, I don't know, dedicated full time into this, which definitely helps when big orgs come in and start making, decent money where it becomes viable. And then what was the question about relegation? I'm sorry.
Well, just like there were rumors that if you got relegated, then you would stop playing professionally.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, that was kind of true. It wasn't stop playing professionally. It would have, if we would have got relegated, we probably wouldn't have played Challenge League together. We think we probably would have like just broken up and separately joined, pro league teams at the time. But yeah, glad that didn't have to happen, obviously. But that was like a rumor in our team, like we talked about, which is pretty terrible to bring up before a relegation game. But our confidence was shattered that season. It was something else. But yeah, glad to see we're at our strongest now.
Okay, do you have any? This will be my last question. Do you have any plans for this coming season? I mean, your team is definitely looking very strong. Canadian was talking about how he was analyzing the Paris Major Qualifiers game and just how no one's expecting you got your border play, and probably won't be any border for a while, obviously, but like you're showing a lot of new things as usual, but not just new things, but new things at work. You guys trying to do anything apart from making LAN? do anything special before the season is over? Like in general?
Obviously, getting first for this split is our goal. Okay, and obviously making land next whatever split is a goal. Special. I think we got a couple more things up our sleeve that I can't give away strat-wise.
That's exciting.
I don't want to say ways to abuse the meta, but like I feel like we're just getting started with. You're gonna see consulate one week, and then you're gonna see consulate the next week, and you're gonna be like, you're never gonna be able to analyze what we're doing.
Yeah.
And then as far as like everyone's expecting our villa to be real spicy, I will say we've been working on it for a while. We're not quite comfortable yet, but when that comes out, I feel like you guys are gonna see like the way villa should be played as to how it's being played right now.
This is gonna be the Twitter headline. I'm just gonna let you know. Mint announces the real villa to be shown. I mean, we definitely no one is actually seeing anything. The Cloud9 players actually admitted to just like they just played ranked. Honestly, they just played it and try to win it.
And there's a lot of runouts people don't know, or a lot of angles people don't know. And even Canadian, I was laughing when I was watching the VOD back, commented saying, "Why you would never want to take us there? We probably know angles that no one's ever seen before. You're going to die to and just get frustrated." And I mean, there's definitely a lot of like crazy things that we found. We just got to figure out how to piece them together and figure out what we want to do with them. So
yeah, 100%. So finally, before we leave, you're aiming to be first here in this season. I wish you guys the best with that. There's this paradox. It's sort of like a conflicting reality where you have to tell yourself you're the best team when you're walking into a game. To get your confidence up, you're the best. You have to be the best players in that situation over the other players. But when you're facing a team like EG, which you beat, technically, how do you balance that mindset of you're facing EG, a team that a lot of like people see as giants in the scene, and you're coming in with a fresh player? How do you balance you being the best? Do you ever like to have to tell yourself something? I mean, they're a really good team. Do you just stick it in your head that you're the best and nothing else can change that?
Yeah, out of game, I respect those guys completely and what they've done in the NA scene, obviously. In game and what we got to tell ourselves, we just got to tell ourselves like they're absolutely nobodies. You know, they're obviously super beatable. And we like to joke about times when they would lose to. I feel bad for all these teams, so I'm sorry, but they would lose to Omen, and they lose to they're tying Cloud9 on Clubhouse, and they're obviously having a very bad season. So we're gonna tell ourselves all this stuff and pump ourselves up that we are the best, and and who's NVK, like who's peaking me, right? Like, so we'll say things like that, and obviously pump ourselves up and. That's what you got to be as a top player. Though you really can't be worried about, oh my God, is Necrox is coming around the corner? He's about to slap me off the game. Like it's now I'm the best player. I'm going to peek him and I'm going to kill him. So coming in with Nyx, obviously out of game, like I said, little nerves came off a noble loss that we got 6-2'd. But during that game, our confidence was at all-time high, and I think it's obviously now that we beat SSG, we're just overconfident at this point.
I wish you guys the best with this for sure. I really appreciate you taking the time to have this conversation with me. I think it's really important for rising competitive players to have an insight towards your mentality as an IGL and just general SKs, the background of SK. I think that's really important for people to know, because a lot of teams have these sort of issues. Or for example, I know a big thought process of mine is a lot in the amateur scene slash CL scene. There's a lot of switching going on. I don't understand that. I think when I look at EG and the top teams we look up to, there's a solid foundation of friendship, frag potential, and there's just a great balance there. But I see a lot of switches in the lower tiers. Just we want the better fragger here. He has a couple montages. He's crazy. Let's put him on this team. And it doesn't work out because he doesn't have the greatest team mentality, so we have to switch for someone else, which stunts growth in general. And I just think when I look at teams like you guys, it sets a foundation. This is important, and I appreciate you coming out here. and like having this conversation with me means a lot. Thank you very much, Mint.